It's late or early, depending on how you're looking at things. Welcome to the first of many Ring of Honor pay-per-view podcasts. My name is Sir Owen, and joining me is Ashley.
Oh my God, Kanye West just pissed off quite a lot of famous people.
How'd that happen?
I think they debuted at Madison Square, got a video for his new song "Famous," and they've CGI'd. It's like a famous painting with like a load of naked people.
Okay.
And what Kanye's done is put Rihanna and Taylor Swift and a whole bunch of other people in the people's places. Of course, at the centerpiece is him and Kim Kardashian. But the real fucked up thing is lying on the other side of Kim, opposite to Kanye, is the bloke she banged in the sex tape.
Oh, God. Ray J?
That made her famous.
Oh, wow.
Like people are getting the reactions from her when she was introduced, like after the video had shown, and her face is like, it's like as if it's like even she didn't know about it. It's like, wow. Oh my God. Also Shimmer. Oh wow. So not only did Nixon Newell make her debut at Shimmer, so did one of the four horsewomen.
Interesting.
The real ones, that is. Shayna Baszler. Okay. Some interesting matches, I will say, that we'll obviously cover
Wednesday.
We'll cover on the day of Wednesday.
Yeah, the normal day for the Wednesday Wrestling podcast. This is the first.
Oh wow. Main event. Bloody actually gets to wrestle and goes for the Shimmer World title.
Wow.
Decay. Wow. I don't even know what's happened to that because that's still happening as we speak live. But anywho, fuck you, Kevin Sullivan.
So, usually on pay-per-views, we're talking WWE, and occasionally we talk about TNA Impact. Tonight, we're going to talk about...
Less often, because at the rate we're going, Ring of Honor's going to have more pay-per-views this year than TNA.
Hey, that's fine. I mean, we have to miss the September one, but I mean, we'll be back for the next one, which is in August. Death Before Dishonor.
Which is Ring of Honor New Japan Super Show.
Yes, cannot wait for that.
The interesting thing with that, though, is that is going to be, I think, the week after the whole G1 climax comes to a climax. Okay, comes to a finish. No.
Oh, God.
Ends. Yeah.
Oh, boy. So, my question to you, would you know if there's a dark match for the show tonight? I'm sure there is.
Probably. I know it wasn't involving the normal ring bell girl, Scarlett Bordeaux, because apparently she was also at Shimmer. This is what Taylor Hendricks has to suffer for. God damn it. I'm guessing All Night Express, probably?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Because if they hadn't, it'd be like, wow.
Like, if anyone is listening, can you find out if there was a dark match tonight?
Search tools. Past 24 hours.
There was also NXT television tapings tonight. We'll talk about that on Wednesday.
Oh, shit.
The return of Rhino.
I'm going to find them now.
The debut of Patrick Clark. And Nakamura and Finn Balor, which is going to be the full show, apparently.
So it did go as you thought.
Pretty much, yes, it is.
Best in the 2016. Nothing's listed. Nothing's listed as a dark match, so
Okay.
I would say, to quote Lex Luger, I don't know.
Watch out with your T-shirt, sir, if you're gonna quote Lex Luger. So, without any further ado, let's talk Ring of Honor. So we ended the show Wednesday with the last television before, which was the culmination of the Toronto shows and the build up to the show that we just watched, setting up the 8 matches.
Wow, the majority of the 8 matches.
Yeah, I mean, setting up basically what needed to be set up for the 8 matches, and the rest were just kind of like tossed around there. So there's that. Like you said, I guess there's no house. I guess there's no dark match. So that stinks. That we know of. There may have been one that we don't know about.
If they've got a whole load of team, they don't want to have the risk of anybody getting screwed up.
Of course, understandable.
Also, with that crowd, I don't think they needed a dark match because half the time they really were not that into it.
I think they might have been asleep half the time. It's like me trying to watch Independence Day Resurgence yesterday. Yes, it does suck that bad. Watch AJ's review on it. It's up on the channel currently.
Yeah, but it's no Mother's Day.
Oh God. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We'll
talk about that tomorrow, actually, or today in this case. It's now Saturday.
All these cheap plugs. It's as if I've planned them. I have.
Without saying anything else, just addressing people in live chat. Yes, James, he did, but we will get to that momentarily.
What? You got? Is this person? You got to do something with Kevin Sullivan?
This is going to be the Ashley Hates Kevin Sullivan podcast now.
No. Why the fuck is Kevin Sullivan still in the wrestling business, screwing up matches that were actually decent and making them shit? Popcast.
I don't think that'll fit in the actual title of the video, so
I don't give a shit.
We're just going to call it Best in the World 2016 Popcast.
Yeah, that'll do. Shorthand.
So the show starts off with the first time I've ever got a chance to see Kama Itachi.
Yeah, the story with him is he left Japan to get some experience. I think starting off in CMLL, and basically CMLL didn't want to use him. And when they did, the problem was he was having match of the year style candidate matches against Dragon Lee. And I don't know whether they resented that fact, because mysteriously now he seems to be a permanent fixture. I think it's because Takagi Watanabe, who is now evil, there's an irony there, in New Japan, went back. And I think basically Kamitachi has sort of taken his place.
Okay.
And at the same time, you've obviously now got Jay White, just coming in. We'll get to him. But yeah, it's been an interesting story for him. He's been having some absolutely incredible matches this year. But it seems like, CMLL didn't really give a shit about it. Which is weird because, it was in their promotion. But, I guess the positive is it means he's now doing the same stuff that he was doing there in Ring of Honor. So, yes. Thank you, Delirious.
Oh, so he's in action in the first match of the night against Kyle O'Reilly. First off, you asked me off camera the other day. You were curious of how Will and I would take to Kamatachi because it's the first time we've seen him. Well, first off, he's got fiery red hair, and he kind of looks like what the evolution of S.A. Rios would be in 2016.
Oh, shit.
From Poppy Chulo to Kamatachi. There you go.
Yes.
So, yeah, this match was good. I'm curious how much actual time it got. Do we have a match length on anywhere yet, Ashley?
Not that I'm sure of.
Because it felt a lot longer than I would think they would have gone with it normally. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it went longer than I thought it would.
No, it certainly makes sense.
Thank you. I have it. I've got it now. 13 minutes and 45 seconds, according to Wikipedia.
Oh, they've randomly updated it.
They don't have the main event up, but they have everything else. So I'm guessing that'll probably be up soon too.
They're still writing down numbers.
Yeah, pretty much. This is one of the longest matches of the night. It's probably like the fourth longest match of the night, which is strange given the fact it was the opener. I do think that it's entertaining and you mentioned this before when we were talking off air, that it was fun to watch Nigel McGuinness on commentary, doing commentary on a guy that he's basically saying is basically Nigel McGuinness now.
Holy shit. Every single match went at least 10 minutes.
Yeah, there's nothing that went under 10 minutes.
That might... Hang on, let me see what happened at War of the Worlds, which wasn't even a pay-per-view. So that's probably not a good comparison. Global War was the last pay-per-view back in May. So, yeah, nearly half of the first three matches went under 10 minutes. Admittedly, one was a dark match, but
right.
The first two matches went under 10 minutes. But yeah, that's rather refreshing. Every match actually got time.
Yeah.
Which in some cases sort of felt that it shouldn't have had so much time. That's just an annoying thing.
We'll get to that. Don't worry.
No. As in this match.
Yeah.
It sort of felt like it needed to be trimmed by a couple of minutes.
I would have done that.
Not that I'm saying the performance from either guys was bad. It's just you felt, especially with a match we'll get to later with Briscoe and Young. No, not Briscoe and Strong, I mean. You could sort of tell at the end that both guys are exhausted, and to some extent they were here. They were heavily playing up the fact that Kyle's knee is basically, non-existent right now.
Right.
Obviously building up to the fact that at the TV tapings tomorrow, it's going to be Jay Lethal defending that belt whether or not he won.
Right.
Spoilers. Against Kyle. So if anything that's probably where Adam Cole would interfere and pick up the scraps. If there's any time in that, you might as well fuck over your former tag team partner.
Pretty much.
But yeah, it was sort of what you expect from Kyle, because he is obviously very MMA inspired in his approach.
Right.
And Kamatachi is known for his technical stuff as well as, crazy high-flying stuff. And you couldn't really do too much high-flying stuff with Kyle, because Kyle sort of does dominate the fact in basically, if you don't do a technical match, nobody's going to give a shit about it.
Right.
You do what Kyle says sort of thing, which is weird because I think he's like 24, 25. And apparently he's had so many years under his belt wrestling that he's seen as a senior wrestler, even though he's younger than probably half the roster.
It's crazy. That's just how it works with people that start early. The first thing I can mention about this match was, as a sign of things to come, Kamatachi was working heel.
Well, he's teased that in his previous appearances.
Mm.
You know, he hasn't always... At first, he never did the Code of Honor, because obviously the idea was he from the Japanese country, you know, called Japan. And he doesn't know what that's all about. Over time, you know, he's began to do it. And I don't know whether he did it at the start of the match, but certainly his antics during the match and after present heel.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Real quick, before we get started, James Eddington is asking a couple questions in chat. He's asking about Becky Lynch. Normally we talk about that on Monday, but...
Fuck it, nobody else bothered to show up, so this has suddenly become a Wednesday podcast.
Kind of. Becky Lynch is awesome, but I think she just keeps getting screwed over. What do you think should happen? The end game here is probably Becky, Sasha, and Paige teaming up against Natalya and Dana Brooke and Charlotte. I think that they're building to that. And maybe Becky will finally get the title. Maybe she'll be the one that takes it off Charlotte and we'll get shocked. But I think it's going to be Sasha Banks that does. I think the gimmick works really well, the fact that she's getting screwed over.
And Vince will be like, well, I was proved right, motherfucker. And Becky Lynch has to have it because she's the only face left in the fucking division.
Yeah. Well, I think Sasha's going to end up being like true face soon anyway. If she didn't do it last week, basically.
Yeah, but until she showed up when Paige was there, technically Becky was the only definitive face in the division.
Right. I mean, another thing that James asked is they should have more women's wrestling in Ring of Honor, which is entertaining that you say that because this week on ROH television, they're going to be doing a full focus on the Women of Honor. So the show after Best in the World is going to be a focus on the Women of Honor.
By the way, the show after is tomorrow. Keep that in mind. Tomorrow, if it's airing and you get it locally on Sinclair stations.
Correct.
Or Tuesday in Canada or Wednesday on Comet TV. And Thursday on ringofhonorwrestling.com.
Very, very true.
ROHwrestling.com. And this is all ahead, of course, of the Women of Honor show, which is, I think, 3 weeks away. No, 2 weeks away, I think.
Let me check to make sure.
I think it's the weekend after UFC.
Something like that.
So it's probably be, it would be July 14th time, possibly.
It just got announced officially.
Oh.
Did not know that, but due to what happened tonight, it was signed for the TV tapings that will be running later tonight in Concord. Mandy Leon versus Taylor Hendricks.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, that will be a dark match. That won't be televised until like next year.
No, it'll be.
Keep in mind, though, that the women's matches, the dark matches, they always put up for free on Ring of Honor's YouTube channel.
Mm.
And the women's matches outdo any of the old Throwback Thursday stuff they do. Even like old stuff with Bryan Danielson or Kevin Steen or anything like that. The women's matches always get the most views.
They are taping Women of Honor on
why
July.
there aren't more women's matches on the pay-per-views, I have no clue. Probably because the last one was ODB versus Maria, which is the same prospect as Gail Kim versus Maria. No.
So apparently it's going to be running at 5 p.m. on July 8th before Aftershock. That's when they're going to be taping the Women of Honor show.
Oh, so that is actually UFC weekend. Ah, my bad.
according to the Women of Honor Twitter feed. Thank you for that. A couple things. Yes, you're very welcome, James. Hopefully, if you like what you're hearing, we do this on Monday, talk about WWE. We do this on Wednesday when we're talking everything. So, yeah, check those shows out if you're able to. Tyler Powell, Ginger Boy Wonder is back. Says Paige is sexy for a jar of mayo. Oh, boy.
Wow. I mean, you know, I'd say the jar of mayo is probably the guy that comes from the same country that has a county called Mayo. And that's Moose of Shea.
Oh, God.
Technically, she can't be a jar of mayonnaise because she's got, you know, a little tortilla stuck inside of her every night. I'm only saying that because Travis isn't here.
Indeed. So let's pick up on this match real quick. So Kamatachi hits a couple super kicks, and this transitions to the Nigel right in front of Nigel. He goes for the brainbuster and the knee to escape out of it, and gets caught with an overhead release belly to belly into the buckle. He heads up top and complements a double stomp and pop up into a sit-out powerbomb into the triangle, but Kamatachi stomps out of it. Rolling elbow to the thrust kick, and then the forearm. He nails the brainbuster for a near fall, right in the Armageddon, and Kamatachi taps out. After this is over, the entertaining thing is there's an attempt at a code of honor, but Kamatachi just literally spits at Kyle O'Reilly and runs like a child.
Boo earns.
Sign of things to come, ladies and gentlemen. Sign of things to come. This was solid. I didn't have a problem with this match. It didn't have like the style clash I didn't think was overpowering here. I liked how both were working for the body part. I thought that worked really well. I liked Kamatachi as the heel here. Like I said, this is the first time I've actually witnessed him wrestle because he hasn't been on ROH television since I've actually been covering. We've been covering it on Wednesday. Kyle O'Reilly's great and always will be. And like you said, he's getting a shot at the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship tonight. So we'll see what happens with that. Solid stuff. Thoughts?
Yeah. So solid opener, not as good as I think you could have got from the two guys.
Right.
And that's probably for people that are seeing Ring of Honor. And have only seen Ring of Honor. You know, they made a comment on the thing saying how everybody was going crazy about Kyle O'Reilly versus Kushida.
Mm.
The thing is, that's implying, of course, that you haven't seen the even better match that they had in the Best of the Super Junior finals last year. That's the issue there. It's like, wait, you're thinking that was awesome? Do you want to see this one? People's eyes popping out of their heads, like that scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Makes sense. So our next match is between ACH and Silas Young.
The real man's man, who is apparently he's Magnum TA. The only reason I say that is because WWE would never pick him up because, you know, they're done with gimmicks from the 80s. That's the only thing that I feel is going to be holding him back from getting to the E. Because the gimmick that he's doing is something WWE wouldn't even consider. I mean, obviously they'd repackage him anyway, but if you, I don't know. I just think the approach that they're doing, it's not going to be a thing that they're liking. ACH don't give a crap because he's going off to Japan for the... Well, no, actually not to Japan, to Mexico for the Super J Cup. Oh, no, didn't you say he was going to Noah, actually? Was it Noah?
I think it's Noah.
But is
We mentioned that on Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, James Taylor Hendricks was in TNA for a bit. They completely misused her.
Yeah, and I bet she fucking regrets it. I bet she fucking regrets it. Like practically everybody that's been there. Havoc. Vader Scott. I'm trying to think. Hell, the woman who was the main event of Shimmer tonight, bloody Courtney Rush. Now she can wrestle. What's she doing? Oh, I'm in a relationship with somebody, but I won't tell you who. Spoilers, it's Brown. That girl has talent, like Taylor Hendricks. I mean, most people will just look at her boobs and go, "That's talent." But I can't deny. But the thing is, she can wrestle, and she was sparingly used in TNA. And like with most TNA women, the gimmick that they come in with is absolutely shit. So that's what hurt her. Then again, keep in mind, Ring of Honor, if you're a woman, you can't wrestle. You can manage if you're on the pay-per-view or television, but you can't. Women are very rare circumstances, often intergender matches. As in, do you see women sometimes get involved? But other than that, the likelihood of seeing a woman on a Ring of Honor television show, you're more likely to see Arnold Schwarzenegger naked in Kanye West's next music video. So technically, there I have thrown down a gauntlet for Kanye to answer. That's the secret plan there. That's the beautiful thing.
Oh boy. So ACH is wearing like this flowered top and it looked like a straw hat. He kind of was dressed like Randy Quaid in the Vacation movies, at least from afar.
I'm guessing because he's going on vacation to Noah.
Maybe.
Hidden meaning, perhaps?
I mean, this was good too. I like the build up for this, even though it was short. It still meant something. So a sunset bomb is stopped midway in the match, and a power bomb into a hangman's neck breaker, which is basically Silas put him on the top rope, like the snakebite DDT style, but not in the ropes, on top of the ropes, and hit a spinning neck breaker, which looked kind of sloppy to say the least. Silas grabbed a chair. Referee said, "No, that's not going to happen." And of course, ACH does the walk up tope con hilo and nails him. He misses the double stomp back in the ring. A fireman's is countered into the O'Connor roll for a near fall. Silas hits the Finley roll and does a headstand into the corner to a springboard moonsault. And he gets caught by ACH out of nowhere with a brainbuster. He hits the Midnight Star 450 and gets the win. This was fine. Very old school style, very methodical pacing. Like I said, Silas Young reminds me a lot of George South. And that's a really good. This would be, in actuality, Ashley, this would probably be like if George South now faced Too Cold Scorpio in the 90s. That would be a good comparison for this match to anybody that doesn't know either styles of the two men involved.
To some extent, yeah.
I mean, it was good. ACH has got a lot going for him in case he doesn't break his neck doing his crazy offense. Silas Young he's a good old school brawler. The problem with that is, like you said, if he's going to go anywhere other than the Indies, he's going to have to change it up a little bit. I don't see him doing that. I don't think he cares. And I think he's just happy working for Ring of Honor.
It's just in the Indies.
Yeah, I mean, he could change his... I don't think he really needs to. I mean, he's a journeyman wrestler. He basically comes off as a guy that he lives as a professional wrestler, and he doesn't need to go to WWE in order to make a bunch of dollars because he doesn't care. And that's what comes to my mind. So, I mean, it was fine for what it was. Your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, solid. I didn't even realize that Cedric's 36.
Wow.
Oh, wow. He was on an episode of Heat taking on Val Venus and The Miz, and was in OVW for a bit.
Yeah.
But, oh, wow. So he had a very similar story sort of to AJ. Because he got released shortly after WWE dropped its ties to Ohio Valley Wrestling, when it became FCW, and then which obviously merged into NXT. Literally like months before.
And his last appearance was
2010. He was on Superstars against Luke Gallows. Wonder what happened to him.
It's just he's happy. He's happy doing what he does, and more power to him.
10 years. 10 years in Ring of Honor. This is his 10th year in Ring of Honor, I should say.
Right.
Some dropping drinks on the floor.
It's funny. I love seeing like different things I didn't know, and obviously it wasn't called by the commentary team, but they did call the setup for Misery, which he never actually got off in the match. The PG Waja plunge, which is that turnbuckle handstand into a moonsault. I love that name. That name is amazing. I'm not gonna lie.
PG.
So yeah, it was fine. It was a solid match. We see Jay White in the crowd.
Why? Why is he there? I cannot explain.
I've never okay. I'll be honest, Ashley. I've never seen Jay White before, but when I saw him, he reminds me of Jason Mewes. Jay White looks like Jay Mewes in every way possible. It's almost like he needs to get a chubby tag team partner with facial hair, put him in a coat, and do the Jay and Silent Bob gimmick.
Didn't that happen tonight? It's called Kevin Sullivan.
Not again.
He had the coat on. He had the beard.
He had his old Taskmaster jacket on.
I don't care.
We'll get to that. I know you don't like him at all.
There's a reason why he hasn't been on active television for 13 years.
So after this, we get our next match. This is the second to last match in the career in Ring of Honor of Mr. ROH, Roderick Strong, taking on Mark Briscoe, who is now an IWGP Tag Team Champion, thanks to Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that his theme music is literally called the Anthem of the Sussex County Chicken.
Yeah, there's the anthem.
This match starts off weird. Briscoe has a wig on, and Roderick Strong rips it off of him, and then you reveal the fact that Mark Briscoe has no hair now, and then they just start fighting.
This started off like debuting Roddy Strong in Ring of Honor versus debuting Mark Briscoe.
Yeah.
These guys wound back the clock to have a slobber knocker.
The only thing missing was the red singlet.
Yeah.
If you want to turn back the clock, you would be wearing a red singlet.
Yeah, but camo trunks make better sense.
So Mark hits a flying guillotine off the apron. I thought that looked great. And an overhead belly to belly into the barricade. They worked back and forth for a while. Great sequence later in the match. where Mark goes for the cutthroat suplex, and Roddy escapes, hits a rolling Spicoli driver. Well, he gets hit with a rolling Spicoli driver in this case. So Mark heads up top going for the froggy bow, but he nails the knees of Roderick Strong instead. And then he just goes off with running forearms, which looked more devastating every time. And hits the backdrop facebuster for a near fall. Later on in the match, Mark climbs up, gets caught. Roddy follows him up, and three forearms and a running knee when they get back in. Goes for the superplex, and it gets countered in a small package for a near fall. Roddy gets the Gibson driver for a near fall, goes into the stronghold, but Mark gets the ropes. He fireman's again, but he gets escaped. And at this point, as I go to my next part of the notes, towards the end of the match, Mark hits the Cactus Jack Hipbuster after yelling bang bang. I thought that was well done. He heads up top, Roddy with the Pillman counter, double down there. They get up at 7. They trade forearms and chops. He ducks the chop, sick kick for a near fall. Jumping knee strike misses. And at this point, Mark his version of the sick kick and a brainbuster for a close 2.5. Then hits a Fisherman's Buster and gets the clean win. Match over. They shake hands. They hug in the center of the ring. We get a nice thank you, Roddy chant as Mark bows out to leave the ring to Mr. ROH. This match is really good. Really solid match between two people that know each other so well, and it really came off that way in the match. I like the story it told. It seemed like the finish came kind of out of nowhere, but I mean, it was a solid match. Solid back and forth match. I very much enjoyed what I saw. Thoughts?
Probably best match of the night.
I'd say it was.
Even though it was too long. Because it was just like, clearly, Mark was doing Roddy a favor. And Roddy was doing Jay a favor. They did bring out the best in each other.
I mean, we still haven't got an update exactly how long the main event went, but as of this moment, it is the second longest match of the night. So it may go longer. It may be the third longest match of the night by the time we get the main event, but the main event didn't go nearly as long as it should have. So we get our next match, Tornado 6-man tag, the Bullet Club representing by Matt and Nick Jackson of the Young Bucks, and Adam Cole taking on Moose in his most likely final appearance with Ring of Honor and Hanson and Rowe War Machine. A lot to follow in this match. Matt Taven's on commentary. Thought that was strange. One thing I enjoyed was the very strange punch combinations in this match. With Moose with the Moose and then the punch, then Moose, then the punch, and then the Moose and then punch, and Moose, then punch, and then the Bucks and Adam Cole turned it around, and they would say, suck it and punch, and suck it and punch, and Adam Cole, baby, and punch. And I was like, this is entertaining. It's all get out. One of the things I mentioned in this match, Ray Rowe had the Young Bucks for a running power slam on the outside at the same time, but he got stopped by Adam Cole with a super kick. Thought that was well done. A lot of craziness in this match. Nice lariat, German suplex combination. Stokely Hathaway got on the ring apron. He ate a triple super kick. Then they hit one on Moose, and they end up hitting the Meltzer driver. The best part of this, Adam Cole makes the cover as Matt and Nick are both on the side, and they're kissing his cheek as he's making the cover. Brilliant match. I mean, the question is, Ashley, where does War Machine go from here?
back into the mix of the tag team division.
Well, considering
and then eventually they'll get back up to the top again. It's very cyclical in Ring of Honor. It comes around eventually, but sometimes it does take a fair bit of time to wait for it.
Right, that makes sense. Solid stuff, though. I enjoyed this. A lot to follow. I'm not gonna lie, there was I was having a hard time with this match trying to watch it because it was kind of giving a lot of issues. But what I did get to see pretty much everything, and I liked what I saw. I'd love to have been able to take better notes, but tornado matches when it's tag rules, or one thing when there's just 4 guys. When there's 6, it makes it even harder. But especially when I'm trying to take notes. But yeah, this was solid. I enjoyed this. Thoughts?
Yeah, it was a good 6-man.
Mm-hmm.
They still had some of the crazy spots. You still had the super kick parties. You still had the super dick parties. All that sort of stuff. Sort of surprised. I mean, the kiss at the end.
That was great.
But yeah, it's weird. They do a heelish thing, like ruin the match at Global Wars, and clearly all of a sudden they're being presented as faces because what we saw later on in the night. But yeah, solid match.
I mean, the crowd want to cheer the Bullet Club, so they're going to give them a reason to, I guess. It's the only thing that comes to my mind. So we get our tag match up next. Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship on the line. Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels of The Addiction defending against Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley of the Motor City Machine Guns. This match was really solid as well. A lot of great things that happened in this match. Daniels and Kazarian hit the Piano Killer for a near fall. They went for Celebrity Rehab, but they escaped. Sabin with a jackknife out of a crucifix roll-up. I thought that worked really well. There's a lot of finishers galore here. Daniels hit the Blue Thunder on Sabin and walked right into sliced bread from Alex Shelley. And then Kaz broke out the Wave of the Future, which we haven't seen in forever. And then out of nowhere, Kamatachi runs down like a man possessed and attacks Jay White and pulls him out of the crowd. And they start fighting. This allows, off camera, mind you, Chris Daniels to get a low blow. And Sabin's trying to fight off both members of the Addiction, and he ends up going for Cradle Shock, and it gets blocked. And Daniels holds off Shelley after the best Meltzer ever connects. And that's the end of that. The Addiction celebrate with Kamatachi, so I guess we have a new stable formed in ROH. So solid stuff. I mean, I saw all the stuff that Bad Influence did with the Guns and TNA. I loved all those matches. I loved calling all those matches. This match was fine. It seemed like for some reason it was still like on fire like you would expect it to be, but it felt like something was missing. It didn't feel like it got enough time. I would have given a little more time to this match.
Well, the shenanigans didn't help it.
No, and we could say that again when we get to our next match. So I know you love.
And then it really wasn't a great tag match, to be quite honest.
I mean, it could have been a lot better than it was. I agree with you on that.
It did feel just like they were dialing it in a bit.
If it felt like a house show,
probably
when
because
you're not trying to go full
this
bore.
would have had more time had it not been for other matches going shorter.
Yeah,
or going longer, I should say.
I agree.
Yeah, and the fact that now, the Addiction has picked up its own young boy, shall we say.
Yep.
I don't know. I hope something interesting happens, but, probably not.
I'm curious to see what the next direction we go. So we get to our next match. This is our unsanctioned fight without honor that we've been building for how long has this been going on? Like 2 years?
They teased it at Best in the World 2014.
Right. Okay. So yes, I was right. 2 years.
No. BJ and Carino got into a fight
Right.
at ringside, sort of randomly for no reason. They sort of been squabbling beforehand as well, but if we're going just since they went to pay-per-view, because that what Best in 2 years ago was their first pay-per-view, at least in the Sinclair era. It was a squabble between them, and it happened a few other times on the other sort of big shows throughout that year, but nothing ever came of it. And then, of course, they did the build up to it finally happening at Final Battle last year, and then it randomly got called off.
Right.
The excuse given was, Carino basically had some neck surgery and whatever, and wasn't able to compete. Which was, to be honest, that's probably why Final Battle 2015 was average. And thinking about it, I don't think you would have had the finish tonight had it been done last December.
I agree.
A little bit too OTT.
Yeah.
A little too, why the fuck is this guy involved when he hasn't been involved in any sort of wrestling of significance since TNA in 2003?
We'll talk about that. Don't worry. First off, I have to mention that Carino comes out with his head covered, and when he takes it off, the familiar blonde locks are back. He came out to the Scum theme, and Whitmer turned it around on him by wearing Evil in his gear, just like Carino did. They're both wearing white, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They threw chairs in the ring before they started the match. Like, fans were throwing chairs in. Or security or young boys, can't really tell. I know chairs were thrown in the ring. The match literally starts with a fight in the aisle. At one point, Carino gets pulled like mouth first into the ring post, and it knocks his front tooth out. That was nasty.
Yeah.
BJ went for a pile driver on the ring apron, but he got caught. Carino had an STO on the apron instead. I like this. He tossed a chair actually at BJ to catch just to distract him while he threw a chair into his knee. Yes, I'm hearing the reverb again.
Oh, shit. What's going to happen?
We'll see.
Perhaps I need to talk louder and then talk overly loud so it seeks it out for you or something. ASMR style.
That'll work. Yeah, that actually does work. Because I can't hear anything now, so that'll work. So we continue. I like that. I thought that worked really well. BJ takes his knuckles, and in the Harley race tradition that Mick Foley talked about in his first book, he takes the point of the knuckles and punches Carino right above the eyebrow and busts him open. It's an easy way to get color without using any sort of blade. Then again, I think if you wiped your fingertip across Steve Carino's forehead, he'd probably bleed, giving him as much blading as he did in ECW. We go later on in the match. After this, when the eyebrow gets busted open, the doctors at ringside try to get the blood stoppage, and Carino has to stop the referee from actually stopping the match. They set up a table in the corner, and BJ hits the exploder into the table, And I call it the table because it doesn't break on the first time. And he hits a second one when the table's kind of like tilted in a bit, and they shatter the table into a million pieces. He goes for a cover. Carino power kicks out at 1. And he hits a super kick. VJ no-sells it. And he hits him with a piece of table to the head. And he gets caught with a super kick again. And then a lariat for a near fall. He grabs the beer bottle that Matt Taven apparently had at ringside. And he cracks him over the head with the glass. He grabs the glass shards, and then we go to a replay, and we're not focusing on what's going on. This happened a lot tonight. They actually missed a lot of the in-ring action and had to give us a replay later on. To where he's taking the shards of glass.
I honestly think in this case they might have done it on purpose.
I almost guarantee you they did.
Because that's probably how they hide, the gigging.
I don't know. When you're rubbing like basic glass into someone's forehead, you don't really have to gig anything. You're doing the gigging yourself.
Yeah. If you saw it did happen.
Yeah, of course.
BJ did have his hand up to his head.
Oh, he did.
Mysteriously, he went to replay.
He did, but Carino got busted open hard way. For sure, he got busted open hard way.
I can't think why, all those death matches.
Yeah, there is that. So both men are bleeding buckets at this point. Carino grabs the bag of like the first aid bag from ringside, and he pulls out a thing of scissors. And immediately I start getting Sid Vicious flashbacks. But luckily he put them down. And he pulls out a good old CZW tactic of rubbing alcohol. So Carino pours the rubbing alcohol on BJ. The crowd chants ECW. Some of them probably have never heard of the real ECW and perhaps have ever seen it. We get a replay of the glass shot and then the alcohol again. Carino puts quarters into a sack, kind of like what happened with Nick Bockwinkel and Kurt Hennig for the AWA Championship. And when he winds up, BJ already has a roll of quarters in a sock, and he hits Carino himself. So they trade punches, and then they grab each other and do the hockey fight. Carino with a headbutt to the chest. He catches him with a package pile driver and kicks out at 2. Lights go out. Sorry, Ashley.
The lights were out for so long as well. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Right.
And then part of me in the back of my head was remembering, hang on. This match has been going on for a while. And they said that Kevin Sullivan was getting involved.
Right.
So then when the lights came up and it's like, okay, why is he in the gimmick for W?
Yeah, he's wearing his Taskmaster robe.
And then takes his golden spike, rams it in Carino's head. Which is fucking child's play compared to what happened at the Tournament of Death the week before.
Right.
Admittedly, that's disgusting as well.
Yes.
Viewer discretion is advised. No shit, it's Tournament of Death. But BJ then gets the pinfall, and it's like, so the purpose of him being there was to screw over Carino. But at the same time, when he talked about it on his podcast, what he says makes no sense. And when he was video, to some extent, Carino's, because there was a glimpse of him in it for no reason. And then none of the stuff he says makes sense when in the little bit that he's got with BJ Whitmer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, clearly the only reason you're here is Nick Gage is in jail, or people are dead. You know, the hardcore icons that they would want to sort of be inserted into this are either dead or busy on other shows or retired.
Because honestly,
this finish and the way it happened just really ruined what was a good match.
Because if this was a perfect world, the lights would have came back on, and in the ring would have been Jimmy Jacobs with a spike, and he would have been the
Which
one.
would have made so much sense.
Oh, I know
because
it would
Jimmy
have.
Jacobs was in the Decade stable with BJ, as
That's
well
right.
as the Scum stable with Carino.
That is also correct. And the feud that him and BJ had, where he power bombed him off the top rope.
Mm-hmm. Either way, I think just having Kevin Sullivan there for the sake of having Kevin Sullivan there, I'm pretty sure there's somebody better you could have used.
I don't know why they set this up. I don't understand. Unless there's some sort of a payoff that's starting tomorrow's TV tapings, leading to Death Before Dishonor, which is a possibility.
Yeah, but then again, that's the other thing. This match has been 2 years in the making, give or take.
Right.
And it hasn't finished the feud. Steve, BJ, you were not the Hardy Boys. You were more sensible than that. There is no point letting this feud be teased as, oh, well, this is ending it. Oh, wait, no, it's not actually. Because, I don't know. It just felt like an unnecessary situation for him to get involved with, Kevin.
Right.
And basically, if people had seen the video, which I didn't until after the match, it makes it bloody obvious that BJ is going to be there to screw over Kevin. Kevin Sutherland's there to screw over Steve.
Yeah, of course.
So they're trying to make it as if it's a big surprise, even though they've publicly even Ring of Honor have publicly fucking said that Kevin Sullivan is involved with this gimmick.
Yeah, exactly.
So there goes your fucking surprise. Anyway. And you already give away the surprise in the video, but he's clearly in stronger leagues with Whitmer than he is with Carino.
This is true.
And then, of course, fuel everybody's conspiracy theories, how he suddenly shows up on pay-per-view television 9 years to the day of something happening, which he has been accused of in many conspiracy theories. And that's also as far correct as we're going to mention it tonight.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that tonight.
I have respect for Nancy.
Yes.
And her kid. I can't remember the name of.
Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel. But it just felt like this feud doesn't have enough traction to continue. And especially if it is the gimmick of if he is there as the Taskmaster and that's the gimmick he's going with, which didn't fucking work in TNA 13 years ago. Which is saying a lot because that's when TNA was desperate because it was trying to get traction, after starting up in 2002. Yeah, the fact there's a reason it's been 13 years why he hasn't been on TNA television. Right. There's a reason it's been 13 years since he hasn't been on WWE television. Well, it's been longer than that, but either way, there's a reason he hasn't been involved in a major promotion for this long. And that's because Kevin Sullivan will always forever be the Taskmaster now, apparently.
Right.
In every single gimmick. That's what he was in TNA, and it's like, for nostalgia factor, for a shindy sort of promotion, it works. In a company where it's all about finding new talent as well as ex-WWE talent in TNA, which is more the latter than the former for them. But certainly in Ring of Honor, when it's about, homegrown talent that's come through the school or, acquisitions that then move on to things, new things like Moose or Strong. Bringing somebody in like that has no ties to Ring of Honor whatsoever doesn't really make sense. Carino got involved because he was on commentary. And then, of course, was manager for Steen and all that stuff. He's a bad person, all that shit.
Right.
BJ's involved. He was there. He was there along with Carino, years and years ago in Ring of Honor. Back in the oldie days.
This is true.
Kevin Sullivan hasn't. It's brilliant that probably the major talking point of this show is going to be somebody who's never appeared in Ring of Honor before and should never appear in Ring of Honor again, even though I know he's going to be part of the TV tapings tomorrow.
I'm sure he is.
And if he isn't, thank fucking God.
I just see where this could be headed. And I honestly wonder, let me look into this before I say this so I don't say it and sound stupid. Yeah, I can see this right now. So Kevin Sullivan is right at this moment 66 years old.
Fucking hell.
I know this person is long retired, but I would not be shocked if this happens. I don't know why they do it in Ring of Honor, but they could do a thing where BJ comes out with Kevin Sullivan, basically says, he showed me the way of the dark side and do all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. And Carino comes out, and there's two ways you can go. Either, you have to go to ECW routes, obviously. You either go to the one that would make more sense in a match or the one that makes more sense in a storyline. The one that makes more sense in the storyline would be Jack Victory. The one that makes more sense in a match would be Sabu.
Fuck it. What is this, EV 4.0? No. It's not about fucking nostalgia. There's a reason ECW died 15 years ago. It went out of business. There wasn't. Look at CZW. There's a reason why they only have really hardcore matches 2 or 3 times a year. Because the market for death matches and people bleeding to death or near bleeding to death isn't really that warranted, CZW gets a bad rap because the stereotypical image is basically, Zandig or Nick Gage or Matrimon or Justice Payne or Wife Beater with their entire body covered in blood. And really, for an image in this era that we live in, it's the equivalent of every single film in the 50s having cigarettes, because at that time they felt that cigarettes were good for you.
Right.
15 years ago, because people were looking for a replacement for ECW, which didn't always go as hardcore as CCW does, there was a gap in the market. And CCW, IWA Mid-South to some extent, Jersey Championship Wrestling. No, not Jersey Championship. Yeah. No, was it GCW? No, yeah, Jersey Championship Wrestling, because it became GCW Game Change Wrestling when Nick Gage had his tournament last year before he got put back in jail.
Right.
That sort of stuff isn't to people anymore because, sure, you can wrestle in your back, but I'm pretty sure you wouldn't try and kill doing some crazy shit.
Mm.
No doubt it happens and people go to the emergency room and then, immediately regret it and reverse all, decisions and all that. I don't think we need that sort of stuff. And it's nice to nod back to it via like ECW Unreleased and like video packages and whatever. But there's no reason for any of these old guys to be doing it. BJ and Carino are sort of young enough to sort of basically say this is the last one. And of course, just because it's Fight Without Honor doesn't mean it has to be violent. The very first one between Loki and Samoa Joe, the only reason it was called a Fight Without Honor is because they wouldn't shake each other's hand. Because they didn't felt the other respected each other and had a great technical match. It was only when, Masada and whatever was involved with the second one that all of a sudden Fight Without Honor became beat the shit out of people. The very best Fight Without Honor, and I will say this to a T, two of the best. Danielson versus Takeshi Morishima from 2009. I don't know. I think that might have been I don't think it was Final Battle 09. That might have been Final Battle 08. Can't remember. I deleted the notes. But certainly, the first one I saw, the Fight Without Honor, was some bloke called Kevin Steen versus some bloke called El Generico. And I still think to this day, even though it did have blood and, heavy violence and whatever, it wasn't CZW style violence, but it made sense to have the level of violence it did because of how passionate the feud was between them. And what did that match do? It finished the feud. Because Steen lost the match, he had to leave. All of a sudden, he came back, 6 months later, by saying, "My name is Kevin Steen and fuck Ring of Honor," which is, beautiful, especially to Jim Cornette. Veiled hints there, I think. But you can do it right, and up to a point tonight, they were doing it right with this one. I don't think you could. You could have even had Colby like make sort of a save, but it distracts. It distracts BJ, distracts Carino, allowing BJ to get the win.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like what was the match we saw? Wasn't it on WWE this week?
Which one?
Or a few weeks, like the tag partner got taken out, and then they finished off the other guy or something. I guess to some extent, like when Kalisto and Sin Cara were like combining to take on Rusev, sort of thing.
Right.
You could have done that sort of deal, but Kevin Sullivan does not need to be in Ring of Honor.
It feels very weird.
In all honesty. I doubt that this is going to have a good payoff. And that's a shame because this match, 2 years in the making, basically by one spot has become forgettable.
Right.
Yeah. And nearly less memorable than the one you had 2 months ago, which people wouldn't remember. There wasn't that much violence because it was on television. But yeah, I mean, that's the annoying thing. The content of that match was a good one. And it just got sort of shat in a bloody, brown, brown paper bag at the end with a finish that doesn't seem to be necessary at all. I hope the explanation makes sense. Otherwise, I'm not going to give a shit about this feud anymore. Because I did. I was interested. Now that Sullivan's involved, it's like, so this is a has-been wrestler versus a has-been wrestler with a fucking has-been. Well, no, not he was never been in Kevin Sullivan. Relevant.
It's flustering. It really is because
Could be worse. Could be Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman. No, wait, that was actually fun.
The thing with this was, honestly, that the match was going great. I mean, this is not something you see every day. Not anymore. I mean, this is really old school.
No.
And it was going well. And then we did the deal with Sullivan coming out. And it's just kind of like, there's got to be some sort of a payoff here. And if not, then I don't understand where this feud's going.
I did a Google search for what connection Kevin has to both, and the connection is this match.
Yep.
There is literally no obvious reason why.
Makes sense.
And I do think it's ironic, Kevin on his podcast saying all the bad things that Steve has done in his life. His great grandchildren will have to finish the prison time he should have done for his actions.
Mm.
When you take into account back to 92, when he was screwing Nancy behind Chris's back, which led to the infamous shoot. Was it the shoot fight at Super Brawl?
It was, I believe it was Super Brawl. Might have been Super Brawl 3.
I remember it was a Super Brawl, and I remember it was a shoot fight.
Yeah, it was. Where are you, Super Brawl? Good job. Yeah, it was a fight, and yeah, the Benoit Sullivan match with the superplex off the table that was on the top rope as the finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's Bash at the Beach 97 is when Sullivan was retired.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, we'll see. I'm curious to see what the taping results are going to tell us about the rest of this. Semi-main event time.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor World Television Championship on the line. Bobby Fish defending against Dalton Castle. He's got 4 boys with him this time. There was, interesting to note, there was a mentioning of a live fish tank, and that never happened. Considering what we got for this right before the main event.
Ruined by the fact that there shouldn't be, regardless of whether it's a fish tank or not, the thing is, it's a pay-per-view. You're not paying for television segments.
But we did.
Which is ironic. Because we'll get to that in a bit.
So Fish goes for the knee bar. Dalton gets to the ropes. The boys are fanning him. This was real quick, real fast pace. Wrestling, back and forth wrestling. Dalton using his wrestling background. His amateur background has been much heralded by Kevin Kelly on commentary, and he really shined through this time around. So at this point, Fish gets an exploder into the buckle for a near fall and a dragon screw. He's working on the knee, obviously trying to set up for the knee bar. Dalton hits a deadlift German later in the match for a near fall. A Fish dives off the middle rope, gets caught, and it's countered into a sunset flip. Escapes, goes into the knee bar, but Dalton gets to the ropes. So we pull back later in the match. They're fighting on the outside, and Bobby Fish gets overhead tossed into the crowd and hits some of the security at ringside in the actual crowd. Dalton, like a madman, dives on them and hitting them again. So all 3 men are down. So he charges in, eats another exploder into the ring post, which looked awkward and just wrong in every way possible. They do a double down at 11. This is when they go down. The boys are fanning Castle. They both beat the count at 20. So we get to the finish here. Dalton busts out the German again and then hits pretty much a Saito suplex that drops Bobby Fish right on the top of his head. Looked great. He got caught. Dalton went for the bangarang, and it got countered into a forward roll, and he gets the win. Really solid match. Great way to lead us to the main event. I never have a problem with this match at all. I kind of thought they'd give the title to Dalton Castle because I've been kind of predicting that since they announced the number 1 contendership. But
you didn't know the backstory.
I did know the backstory. You're correct. So, I mean, I'm having to go into it kind of blind, honestly. Like, this is only the 2nd Ring of Honor pay-per-view I've watched, and
even though you sort of did know the backstory, because we did watch Global Wars together last month.
Right, that's the first Ring of Honor pay-per-view I ever watched. So didn't cover that because we didn't have the time at the time, but we were extensively into it.
We covered it on Wednesday rather than covered it live.
Right.
Because, we were excited for this show, and then Kevin Sullivan turned up.
And there were people also that were really excited for this show too, but we are the only men standing tonight, apparently.
Telling.
It happens. No worries. No heat with anybody. This was really solid. Dalton Castle, say what you want about him. I mean, for me, kind of reminds me if like Bray Wyatt was played by Jack Black. Like the voice in general, with kind of like a little bit of
bit random, but okay.
Listen to his voice though. It's like Bray Wyatt mixed with Jack Black, with like the gimmick of basically Fandango.
No, I get you. It's just okay.
I know, it just had to be said. This match was good. I enjoyed it. Good stuff. Thoughts?
Yeah. Good TV title match. The finish sort of makes sense, because clearly we're probably going to be building to. I don't even know if they're going to do it. They could do it on the G1 Climax set of shows. With Ishii getting the rematch. She is due.
This is true.
And of course, it would be in Japan. But yeah, leaves it interesting though tomorrow though with Monsieur Dalton as well.
He's facing Roderick Strong in his last match on the tapings tonight. But should be good.
And then we go to Ring of Honor television.
Yep.
For some bizarre reason. So out come random people.
Oh yeah.
One of which that does actually look like Suge Knight. One of them actually looks like Suge Knight, so I don't know what's going on there. Because I doubt it was actually Suge Knight. For sort of obvious reasons. And the graphics behind, for some reason, say the cabinet. And I'm like, no, Ring of Honor. Are you seriously trying to do your own version of the tribunal?
What's JBL and the Bashams from SmackDown? Orlando Jordan and the Bashams with JBL. That was the cabinet.
No, but tribunal. Pretty similar in sound and title. Caprice Coleman's with them, basically because, his tag partner went and fucked off to the Cruiserweight Classic. And they were basically talking about how the All Night Express, back at Best in the World 2012, won the Ring of Honor World Tag titles. And that in 2016, they aren't on the show. Probably didn't help that Kenny King was in TNA for about 16 months.
Yep.
He sort of fucked over any of their chances to be treated with credibility in the future. Especially because then Rhett Titus basically all but practically retired. And the only reason that he came back was because Kenny King was back, from what I can tell.
Makes sense.
Which is sad, if in some respects. So, basically, they say, it's an injustice that we haven't had the belts. Now, there's some bloke going around selling T-shirts saying he's going to make wrestling great again. Which, I mean, if we go by the stories now, I've got a feeling that Mr. Angle could be going to Ring of Honor for Final Battle.
I would not have a problem with that.
Given that the reports suggest it ain't going to be Angle.
Yep.
Considering how they blatantly sort of mentioned him, and the fact, as long as Ring of Honor's got $25,000, at least, it would sort of pay off into that. Especially when, of course, back in 2012, who did they win the tag belts off? The world's greatest tag team of Haas and Benjamin.
Who could...
Can't remember how they're connected to Kurt Angle.
Who could...
Perhaps some sort of team? Maybe.
Who could the All Night Express team with? Because we could do a 6-man with Haas, Benjamin, and Angle against All Night Express.
Coleman.
And yeah, there you go. The Cabinet versus the world's greatest tag team and Kurt Angle. That makes perfect sense. I think that's going to happen now.
Hello, December.
No lie.
I mean, the fact that we had this on pay-per-view. Keeping in mind that, people watching internationally, unless they go through Ring of Honor's website, they won't get a chance to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like there's any TV deal for it to be broadcast here. This ain't no TNA. Then again, that's probably a good thing at the minute. But regardless, I don't know. It just feels, the fact that this happened just randomly, in a sort of a semi-main segment after the TV thing. I mean, we're clearly indicating that they want all the belts.
Right.
It'd be problematic because there's only 3 of them, and there's 4 belts. So, also, if clearly they'd be going for the tag belts, but the current tag team champs are heels themselves.
For now.
Yeah, but I don't think the fact that Daniels comes out in a Nazi uniform, or a Nazi-esque uniform, I should say. I mean, I doubt that people will flip on them because they're better as being heels than they are as faces.
Oh, agreed.
With the actual honesty. And Caprice, he's in with a shout of, being in contention for the TV title, I would say. I don't think any one of the 3 is on world title level.
That's why they need someone else.
I don't think there's anybody that's, well, Silas Young is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Silas probably, would be worthy of getting a shot at it. Then, of course, you could have somehow Truth Martini get involved there. Then again, it would automatically sort of become the House of Truth. It wouldn't be the Cabinet, so. Then, of course, this gimmick has to be finished by December because the whole US presidential thing is going to be dead by then. Or at least, Inauguration Day in January?
Yeah, I believe so.
That'll be when it's all done, and then, wait 4 years. So, I'm pensive about this. Certainly, they're doing a better Make Wrestling Great Again gimmick than Darren Young and Bob Backlund.
Exactly.
But tonight was the first sign it was like you're clutching at straws. There was quite a few elements tonight where it's like you're trying to somewhat copy WWE.
Welcome, Acer.
That isn't what you should be doing. You should be doing what Mark Briscoe and Roderick Strong do and prove why WWE needs to sign these people by letting them do what they do best rather than create storylines that, nobody will give a damn about.
Right.
There's a reason why the main event of Jay versus Jay is significant and why it was so good again.
We're about to get to that.
Because it was one guy taking on one guy. And they may not have respected each other at first, but over the course and throughout, the match tonight, they did. And, that is something that you wouldn't do in WWE. WWE, it would be an automatic, oh, he's got to turn heel on him.
Mhm.
Because there has to be a definitive face and there has to be a definitive heel. And there has to be a definitive Roman Reigns as a druggie. But yeah, be interesting to see who they face in TV tapings and what they say.
I agree.
Which we'll find out, over the weekend. Well, actually tomorrow night, but over the weekend.
If I was Ring of Honor right now, I would set up a match with them, and I don't know, War Machine works for me. And after the match is over, after they get the win, you have Haas and Benjamin come out of the crowd and attack them. And said, "You threw down the gauntlet, and now we're here to accept." That'd be a good tag match.
Do that.
Good tag match for Death Before Dishonor, and then we do the 6-man with Kurt Angle at Final Battle.
Keep in mind, keep in mind,
September.
There is one show that you're not doing because you're going to be,
Yes.
pissing the pants of yourself.
Most likely, yes.
All-Star Extravaganza.
That's right, yeah.
Because that's going to be pay-per-view. September 1st. Again, it's a pay-per-view TV taping combo like this weekend is.
What's the September date again?
30th.
Okay.
At 9 p.m. Eastern again, because it's a Friday.
Right.
No Sundays here this time.
Sadly, I will be missing that.
When he is, then they're in Lakeland and Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on October 21st and 22nd. But I think you could do it there because, as well, you're in Massachusetts for that one as well.
Mm.
And Boston ain't that far from Pittsburgh.
Not really.
Whereas Vegas, it's a bit out there. Also, because that casino, it's like, I think it's like basically somebody's house. Because it doesn't look like a proper casino sort of style. When you see places like Caesar's Palace and whatever, admittedly, they're much bigger than this place, but internally, it just looks like the Hammerstein Ballroom sort of thing.
Right.
And also thinking about it, it would be interesting to see 10 years on from his last match in the Hammerstein Ballroom, Kurt Angle in there once again. Trying to think if it would have been 10 years this week. Hang on. One Night Stand, 2006. So look. Oh, June 11th. So it was a few weeks back.
Right.
That was the last time Angle was in the Hammerstein. I don't know. But and we get to the match 1 year in the making, literally, because that's how long Jay Lethal's been champion for.
Right. So
for the Ring of Honor title, it's Jay versus Jay. So Jay wins. There you go. I've called it. Do I get my point on the predictor score?
we didn't do that for Ring of Honor. Maybe we should have.
No. If it's only me and you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Baseball. How fucking ironic is it that Ring of Honor's next big show is Field of Honor at MCU Field,
Right.
and that Shikara has a show every year after a baseball game?
Fair point.
Just saying.
This was good. Obviously, solid match. They went about 15 minutes. A lot less time than they should have.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a shame because this match should have got a lot more time than it did. I will talk about a lot in this match because I have a lot of notes here. So Lethal hits Jericho's springboard dropkick and hits the tope to Jay Briscoe to the barricade twice. He goes for the third. Jay comes in, he ducks the clothesline, hits a back kick. Lethal gets caught with the Yakuza, knocked him to the outside. So he hits the topes into the barricade twice. And then the tope con hilo to Lethal. Taylor Hendricks attacks, and the referee just like, nope, you're gone, and tosses Taylor. She gets mad, and she starts yelling at Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness at commentary, and she runs into Mandy Leone, and they kind of have a little bit of an altercation, and she basically gets taken to the back. So she is not any sort of part of the rest of the match. Oh, the reverb's so bad.
Which is ironically how they did it last year.
Right.
Because Truth and the House of Truth people got thrown out pretty early on. Earlier on than they did in this one.
Right.
When Lethal and his TV title was going up against Briscoe and his Ring of Honor World title. Well, the idea is it's the winner takes all. And of course, Lethal won and made the history of the histories. And I think, let me look, because I need to bring up the records. Damn it. List of champions. Scroll through. Lethal is now on 372 days.
Wow.
Which, depending what happens tomorrow, means he is close to passing Jay Briscoe's 375 days in his 2 title reigns. But he's already surpassed Kevin Steen. So he's arguably, the greatest champion in the last 10 years or so in terms of, duration of title holdingness or whatever. Because Adam Cole had 275, Jay Briscoe had 286, Steen had 328, Davey Richards had 321, Roderick Strong had 189, Tyler Black, whatever happened to him, 210, Austin Aries 245. It's Nigel McGuinness who had it from October 2007 to April 2009, who has 545 days. So nearly, 6 or 7 years since somebody's held it this long.
And he definitely belongs as champion.
Mm-hmm.
So we continue. After Taylor goes to the back with her temper tantrum. Thank you, Acer. I appreciate that line. Then we transition into the elongated finishing sequence. I say that because the point from this moment forward is everything that leads up to the finish of the match.
Ooh, something else that's also worth noting. McGuinness and Danielson are the only people who have defended the title more in their title reign than Lethal.
Wow.
Lethal's up on 24 right now, I think. I don't know if that includes the one tomorrow or not. I'm not sure. But Morishima only had 20. Austin Aries only had 16 in his first run. Steen only had 18 in his run. Adam Cole and Jay Briscoe only had 13 in their last runs. It's been... Lethal's been defending, Also, keep in mind, didn't he defend about last week in the What Cultures thing?
Yeah. He faced Noam Dar.
That's probably the 24.
Yeah, and he's also defended the title out of the country many times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's truly a world championship in every sense of the word.
Indeed.
So, like I said, we progress to the finishing sequence, and there's a lot to say about this match, and I will get to that. So we get in. Jay goes for a clothesline. It gets countered in the Lethal combination for a near fall. So Lethal goes for 3 straight covers and gets a near fall out of it. Goes for a 4th. Finally gets a near fall. He can't put Briscoe away. They trade forearms. Lethal comes off the ropes, gets caught with the Yakuza, and he goes for a rebound. He gets caught, and he decks Lethal straight. He goes for the fireman's, but he elbows out of it. A boot in, goes for the J Driller, but he escapes, and he hits a power bomb into a stack pin for a near fall. Spicoli driver for a near fall on Lethal. Briscoe grabs him under the ropes as he's trying to escape. And Lethal just nails him with a vicious ace crusher from under the apron to the floor. Looked amazing. Tossed him in for a near fall. So they get back in here. He hits a chop. He puts Jay on the top rope. He goes for a Rana. Gets blocked. And he gets dragged to the top. He's setting up for the Super J Driller. But basically, he does, in all essence, what was a double underhook butterfly suplex into a Hurricane Rana, which looked great. Great stuff on this. Like I said, we're setting up the end here. So he heads up top. He hits Hail to the King, and Jay kicks out at 2.5, and he goes right to the figure 4, but Jay gets to the ropes. He goes for lethal injection, but it doesn't happen. Ducks the clothesline, a super kick, and he goes for lethal injection, but he gets swatted off. A boot in. Jay Driller escaped by Lethal. Lethal hits the lethal injection finally, and gets a Jay Driller for a near fall. So he puts him on the buckle. Jay climbs up. Lethal escapes out. Jay fights his way off. Lethal hits a ace crusher off the top, and then finishes Jay off with the lethal injection. Crowd was chanting both these guys at the end. They shook hands, and we got a graphic for Death Before Dishonor on August 19th is the next pay-per-view, and that's how we went home. They did a lot in under 15 minutes that most people can't do in 5. I mean, if you had an hour and you had 5 minutes and you only were allowed to have that 5 minutes and everybody else got the hour, then you would have to go out and put on the very best wrestling match you possibly could in the allotted time you had. And that's exactly what Jay Lethal and Jay Briscoe did tonight. They put on a solid back-and-forth wrestling match, told a very great story, had a lot of believable false finishes, and everything was picture-perfect to a T, and they gave them barely any time for the main event because of all the weirdness that went on before. Thoughts?
Solid main event. Really good. Yeah, it would have been nicer if it went a little bit longer, but for the time that they did, they crammed everything in.
And didn't feel forced either. It felt fluid.
Importantly, they had the crowd saying both these guys.
Yep.
which is what it needed. And yeah, that's how you end a pay-per-view Ring of Honor, not super kick party just randomly ruining a main event.
Which, like you said,
payoff to that storyline on this show. Oh wait, there wasn't any.
Because Cabana was even on the show.
Well, no, not even that. The fact that all they really did on this pay-per-view was face Moose and War Machine.
Right.
They didn't try and interrupt anything, didn't try and interfere. They just did stuff.
Yeah. Makes sense. Great way to end the show. It was a solid event. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I saw tonight. A lot of great stuff. I'm looking forward to these Ring of Honor podcasts. I'm looking forward to talking about ROH on Wednesday. We're talking Women of Honor. Should be great. Looking forward to that. But yeah, just a great way to end the show. The J&J battle is just very well done. I mean, there were a couple missteps here and there, but by and large, I recommend this pay-per-view.
Yeah. On demand. If you can, when goes up, immediately ask for a refund.
The second the lights go out in the fight without honor, then you might want to just turn it off for a minute and then come back to it.
No, skip it for me. Imagine that's how the match finished.
The match was going so well, though. That's the problem.
I know. That's why I'm saying skip it for me. And it's how it ended. Double count out. They disappeared.
Close enough.
And did a Dean Ambrose and hid under the ring.
But yeah, I think
I've just realized that we might have missed the best moment of the night, which is Kenny Omega nearly getting an attitude adjustment.
Oh my god. By who?
Some bloke at this video game tournament.
Jeez.
And the other thing is, this tournament last year had somebody basically doing a Stone Cold entrance, but they basically got cans of like Monster Energy rather than beer,
Right,
and poured it in their mouth, sort of thing. And apparently there was a few people that tried to do the same style entrances because, of course, at this event they have a mocked up wrestling ring where they do the tournament in. That's sort of like the stage.
right.
So,
That makes sense.
they've now basically gone to the players. Look, we want to sort of have like a wrestling style persona. So if you want to rip off anybody's wrestling entrances, we encourage it. So the fact that Kenny Omega was there with broom,
Of course, with
that's what
Broom.
matters.
Oh man. I think that's our show tonight, actually. So, yeah, solid way to kick off the Ring of Honor era of the pay-per-view wrestling podcast. I look forward to August 19th.
Well, that should be more so because that's obviously because it's New Japan crossover.
Yes.
Could mean Tanahashi, could probably mean Okada. I'm guessing there'll be some group of like New Japan people that might take on the Elite. That's of course as well if Omega's allowed in, to wrestle.
We'll see.
Considering the fact that he's been allowed in to do this gaming tournament. I don't know whether that means he's allowed back in the country again,
I hope so.
or whether he's not allowed in a wrestling capacity. But for a gaming tournament where by chance they do a wrestling angle, even though it isn't wrestling because it's just video game guys, who knows?
We shall see. So that's going to end the Ring of Honor Best in the World podcast for now June 25th, 2016. I don't know what that is. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Real quick.
It's more interesting than Kevin fucking Sullivan.
Will should be returning on Monday for Raw. Travis is gone. He'll be back next week.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't just went Travis is gone.
No, I wouldn't do that. He'll be back next week. So it's just going to be the me and Ashley show for a while. If Will's able to join us, awesome.
Oh, shit. Old school.
Old school.
Means Wednesday might go, 7 hours instead of 14.
Yeah. So let's talk about Wednesday, shall we? Obviously, since we're talking ROH tonight, that leads us to Wednesday's show. Wednesday's show is very different than Monday's show. Same humor, same mentality, but we're talking different things. We're talking about TNA.
We're talking too much.
Yeah, pretty much. Talking TNA, we're talking Lucha Underground, which this is the go home show to Ultima Lucha Dos that we're going to be talking about.
I think so. I think it is.
Yeah. And looking forward to that. Obviously, we got the Cruiserweight Classic coming up soon. There's a lot of great things coming up in the near future. So, a lot
UFC
of cool...
200.
Yeah, UFC 200. Punk's first fight got announced, just like we talked about on Wednesday, and then it gets announced on Thursday.
Annoyingly now that's going to be September when you're away.
Of course. Yes, that's how I do things. But like I said, we may be able, like I said before in kind of a cryptic message, we might be able to do something about that. We'll see what happens. So keep tuning in for that. Yeah, so
you're not going to have bloody viewing You're not going to have viewing parties with your friends in bloody Orlando, are you?
No, this is something different. I've already discussed this with someone, and we may actually work something out. So give you a real quick programming note here on the Popcast Network. We have daily content here. If you are new to the channel, welcome. We have wrestling content on Monday nights for Raw at 11:30 p.m. Wednesday nights, at 9:30 for the Wednesday Wrestling Podcast. It'll go later when the Cruiserweight Classic starts, and also for Ultima Lucha Dos, because we're going to
go later the week before that because of Lucha.
That's what I said. I said both.
No, but I said that when you said it.
Yeah, there we go. So if good God. So yeah, that's what we've got for Wednesday. The regular segments here, other than that, we've got the normal sip and snacks on Thursday for random flavors and Saturday for the original sip and snack. AJ and myself did a lot of filming yesterday, so there's a lot of movie content coming to the network this week, next week, and the week after. The worst of the half year should be up later today. The best of the half year will be up next week, and the most anticipated of the rest of the year will be up the week after. So a lot of AJ content. AJ's movie reviews on Friday versus on Sunday, and Halloween Horror Nights news coming as soon as we get it. So, yeah, there's a lot of really cool things here on the network. So stay tuned, and we're going to have some fun. So thank you, everyone, for joining us for Best in the World. Once again, I want to thank Ashley for joining us tonight, or this morning in his case.
Or something.
Yeah. So since you are the literal last man standing with myself, put yourself over, sir.
Check out the archives of my podcast, The Whole Indie Show and SNS Sticks and Flicks, over at snsradionetwork.com, along with a host of other podcasts up there. Game with Ash should be heading its way to you Monday, where we're going to talk about... It's another Kickstarter thing, but basically about the weird ones, as in the ones that don't exist, the ones that got screwed, and the ones at which Sonic the Hedgehog stole the fucking show.
Very interesting.
On top of probably something else which I can't even remember. But, you know, there's been like 3 or 4 at least Kickstarter-related stories, which are all very interesting. So I'm going to bundle them together, you know.
Sounds good.
I might have to just give it a stupid title like Super Kickstart, because then I can go, Super Kick!
God. Of course, Monday I also have to work till 6, so keep that in mind.
Content, as well as gaming content, will get the meaning. People just watch for the gaming stuff. It's like, why the fuck does he keep shouting Super Kick?
Keep in mind, obviously, I work till 6, so we got to figure out a way to get said video over to me. We will talk about that later.
Yeah, that's why God created Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, American football and sending videos.
I don't care
Nothing else.
I don't care about the first one, but yes,
Fuck
sending videos.
Fuck WWE and going over, you bastard.
Oh God, that needs to stop. I know it's just getting started. I get that. Thanks everyone for listening and watching tonight. Thanks Jeremy for being in chat. Shout out to everyone that was involved. James was in there for a little bit. Some good questions there. Tyler Powell, Ginger Boy Wonder dropped in for a minute or two. Thanks for joining us. And a big shout out to Acer 5000 on YouTube and
Wait for it.
At Acer 1337. Yes, in a row on Twitter. For all the podcasts you should listen to, wrestling and or otherwise. He comes in at the very last minute of some of the podcasts, and he throws in like 16 different messages that I have to read at the same time.
Yep.
And that's what we're waiting for is the final message from Acer, like we always get. Like I said, Travis will be back next week. We'll hopefully be back on Monday. So that's the show this week. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. And as always, in a world where there are a billion wrestling podcasts, we're very pleased that once more tonight you have chosen a Popcast. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.
And his name is John Stamos! Everywhere you look.